What's going on, y'all? Integration or segregation? Did it help us or harm us, right? We're going to break this down in this episode as we go on our series, our Black History series this month, right? First definition that we see that begins to outside of slavery or within slavery or an extension of slavery that for sure separate the people was the Jim Crow era, where it was like, listen, black on black and white on white. And so white people stopped shopping in black businesses and started to shop their own. And that's how you got the advancement of, like, I don't want to say advancement, but that's where like black on black businesses really became a thing. Yeah. Especially when in the beauty industry, barbers, you got Madam C.J. Walker, all that stuff. And Booker T. Washington was pushing black ownership in them time periods.
For sure.
And then what I think was interesting was, it's black on black businesses, right? That we come out here and say, hey, we got black on black businesses. And if you look today, it's really no different than it was then as far as the advancement of business development. They were still like mom and pop shops from then even to today.
For sure. And that's
there's no growth and development of a business infrastructure to where we can hire people, where we could, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Because it's the lack of resources, it's the lack of access to resources, right? So even during its infancy, right, when you think about big business, right, the monarchy was big business, right? We talking about the Atlantic slave trade was business, right? These people, it was business. And so we weren't privy to that. And so it trickles all the way down, even during, after Reconstruction. Yeah, we had a business, but we were never given the ability to grow that into industry. You know what I mean? Like everything that was created that could possibly turn into something of industry was taken away. Any idea, we created the stoplight, right? That's industry. We created and transformed everything. The light bulb, but we were never able, they took it away from us, right? Because
Wall Street started off with
it's money, right? So that's why I go, if we stay segregated.
Through the emotional buildup, people was tearing our stuff down anyway. So, but we had the businesses that was mom and pop, but didn't have the ability to, I guess on that point, you might could argue, because if let's just say.
Because it's not like we didn't have it and try.
Right.
But when the system is set up to just pull it away from you, no matter what you do, so you got to say, well, let me try to fight another way, right? It's trying to knock down the barriers to go, all right, well, we innovated, we educated, we're trying to set up our communities. Y'all burning them down. You're not letting us get our patent. You're not even allowing us to give us access to make our way, but creating this narrative that we're lazy and we can't do it. Right. It's like a double-edged sword coming at you from like two dragons coming at you from the front and the back. How could we sustain that type of trauma when your community, your livelihood, your mere existence is threatened every day? Yeah. That's heavy. I don't know, as a people, we would have found a way because that's just who we are. But I don't know if we would have been better off than we are today. And that's the question. I don't know.
I think on that.
But y'all can answer that question. Do you think we could be better off or not? Like, that's a deep question. If segregation wasn't existing, right?
I'm gonna take a stance on it. I think we would have been.
Okay.
And I'm just looking at it from like, so when you break down black-owned businesses and the history of it, when you break that down, you have from the Reconstruction era, right, in the 1800s, right? Then you got, like, before the Emancipation Proclamation, you had a lot of black businesses that started out of the need of Jim Crow, that blacks could only shop with blacks. It produced big problems that had good solutions to them. If we travel, where do we stay? If we go here, where do we find food?
The Green Book. Green Book was a map on where you could go without going into a sundown town or getting your ass scorched. Right? There was a navigation. Right?
That's what I'm saying.
But that was business for sure.
So you had a lot of businesses that were birthed through that era of the Jim Crow era. And then when you look at it, right, history shows us that in the 1900s is considered the golden age of black businesses, because you got to look at it like the seed was planted from Jim Crow, and then it started sprouting and harvesting in the 1800s to the 1900s. It started sprouting.
Yeah.
You had more black ownership. You had a lot of successful you had more millionaires and successful people in real estate, all kind of fields that would have grown. But also in that 1900s, that's why I say it probably hurt us, because through us integrating, or even before that, like you talk about people just destroying our businesses, if they would have never destroyed them, or if we would have had the infrastructure to defend our stuff or rebuild, or what that looks like, imagine what businesses would be like today if they was never burned down or hit with any type of political arena for them not to grow and succeed. And it's that mindset that I choose not to get caught up in, like, oh, it's the black man, the white man, but I choose to look at, like, well, why did they do that? Because a lot of that is media pushing Southern men that had the push, right, to see, like, no, they black, they worse than you, right? But you poor too, even as a slave master, you just a little bit above the blacks. So if I'm from the North, from a financial perspective, push that narrative down South, but these people up North seeing, like, oh no, black people is making money. They're about to be an economic force to be reckoned with. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And then in that same era, the 1900s, you got stuff produced, like, which we'll say for the last episode about banking and finance. But you got 1913 was when the Federal Reserve was that whole system to come about, birthed capitalism even further in America. But the 1900s produced a good era of the golden age businesses, right? Where you had, it was like black business double. It went from 20,000 in the 1900s and to 40,000 in 1914, right? From 450 undertakers to a rise in 1,000, right? From drugstores rose from 250 to 695. Right, like these are the conversations that we are not hearing in schools or nothing. Black insurance companies, for sure. That
period of growth and abundance. Right. But what I challenge a little bit of that is that it's not this or that; it's all of it. So when we pushed for equal rights and to integrate, we also needed to have conditions in place that allow us to be on a better financial plane, to not defund us, because that's what happened in the push for equality, right? In the push to integrate, it caused a backlash in our communities, right? Schools were closing, administrators were losing their jobs. Yeah. It started to really create, all right, well, we're just going to defund and bankrupt their neighborhoods, right? And so when we push for equality and integration, again, because the sinister beast on who we going against always 10 steps ahead of us. We didn't carve out the access to funding with that. With that, like, if we integrate, yes, we want to be in the same schools, but what do we do with the people over here, right? The taxi cabs, the business owners, the this and the that.
We didn't fully think about that,
right?
I think like because
they were so used to oppressing in the system, like, all right, well, if we give them equal rights, well, we still got laws in place that what? We're going to do what? We're going to bankrupt and tear down their neighborhoods. Or we're going to, the CIA, we're going to bring drugs in. Like, it's always like a step ahead of what we're trying to do because we're so new at this, right? The system of classism started 400 years prior. So they had a lot of practice on how to manipulate people and create a class system to keep them doing what they need you to do.
I see what you're saying. I think we were both on equal playing fields on opposite sides though. I think that rules was being written as we went and laws was being structured as we went. Because when you look at it like, okay, the 1800s businesses was doing good. We was doing businesses with all kind of people. from that birthed Jim Crow, because white people knew that they had the only thing they could run to was politics.
Head, right? You're talking about business. So that means what? Right now, business plans a year, 2 years out.
For sure.
So when we're talking about what's happening today, they're already like, okay, well, if they do this today, we already going to put stuff in place for tomorrow. We already are laying the seed and the groundwork to keep them oppressed based on what they're doing today.
But what I'm saying is I think that when they came to form the government in America, and even America, what I want to believe based off what I'm seeing and the patterns that I found is, I don't think that we was ever a factor, period. I don't think that they even thought that black people would want to be free, would advance in any shape, form, or fashion, let alone get as far as they got. So even though the government was set up already, right, laws and stuff in order, all men created equal based on the Declaration of Independence, all of that.
But think about the mindset and why they did it from where they were coming from.
Right. No, I get that. Right. What I'm saying is I think that they brought black people over here and they just absolutely counted us out. Right. So now in the 1800s, when you have black businesses coming up and they're doing business with white people doing business with black people, now that's like, this is unheard. This is a problem we didn't think of. But, how can we react? Well, we could go into the policies and say, listen, Jim Crow era, now white people can't do business with black people. And that started in the South, which the mindset bled north, because it wasn't like a northern thing. That was a southern law. But then, so black people was like, well, all right, well, you don't want us to do business with white people. We just going to do business with black people. And our dollars was circulating. We was building wealth. You go into the golden age of the 1900s where things were like booming.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, dang, Jim Crow didn't stop them. They still going. So now what do? Well, we just got to tear down the city. So now you got Black Wall Street coming down, Rosewood coming down.
Harlem Renaissance.
Like all these other cities that's coming down.
And that's what I'm saying.
So I think that birthed the civil rights, because you had a lot of people like, listen, well, we done tried our own businesses. You separate us and we was cool. Now I think, well, maybe if civil rights come into play, well, maybe we could just integrate and we thinking like maybe that will solve the problem. And I don't think we fully thought that plan through.
Because I feel like for Black Americans during that time, it was always to prove we are just like you, right? Instead of saying, we don't need to be like you. Just give us a piece of what we need to thrive. You don't want us to be involved. You don't want us to interact with you. Fine. But we live in this country too. But I felt like it was an undertone of wanting to be accepted and acknowledged, because the narrative was we were subhuman. The narrative was we are inferior intellectually. We are inferior to them. So in sports and arts and entertainment and medicine and education, it always felt like we were trying to prove to the system who set it up to be against us that, look, we are valued. Look, we're just like you. I felt like some of it was like, almost like a pick me mentality. Like, look at us. We are the same. And look, we are not this, we're not that. And I felt like some of that caused us to not see how they kept moving the goalposts. And so I don't think we were strategic in civil rights, getting what we needed without leaving our businesses alone, right? Unattended, or leaving our industry without access to more funding.
And I think that, like how we say, like, racism is the smokescreen of classism.
Absolutely.
What's going on? We're glad to have you at another episode of Minding Your Biz podcast. Listen, everything that you hear or see on this podcast episode is for educational purposes only. We have not seen your books. We have not seen your specific situation. Make sure you please seek your financial advisor for anything pertaining to your situation. Peace. All right, y'all. It's a wrap.
Listen, like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friends to come check us out at the Mind Your Biz podcast, y'all.
And we'll see y'all in another episode of Minding Your Biz. Peace.